Welcome to another episode of Euphoric, the podcast. I'm sitting across such a special person. Kate Yoder is here today, a longtime client and just an amazing woman who's growing a beautiful holistic health coaching business. Kate, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so I think I'm going to learn so much from you today. Like, you are a true expert in this field because I know in your story, like, once alcohol was removed, it like kind of showed up so many more glaring issues in your life, in your body, in your system, in your nervous, all the
Yeah.
things. And like, I commend you so much on the journey you went after that to also start healing so deeply, like all of the different, the gut, the liver, the skin, the deeper emotional things as well. And I think that the listeners are going to love this episode no matter where they are today. But before we kind of like really get into your expertise and stuff, I always love to start with story, just so like everyone knows like what's going on, who you are, all that kind of stuff. So maybe take us back. Like, how did you
Yeah.
come to like question your relationship with alcohol and go alcohol free? And then like, what was the result at the end of that that was like, oh, now I have this next layer of healing to do?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I went alcohol free in 2019. Carolina, something that you have said a couple times on the retreats and the programs that we've done together is, you all may have kind of been tapped on the shoulder and been nudged to go alcohol free. And for me, it was more of like I was shoved to the ground. Like it was like I was just it was over. I was very dependent. Just full transparency. I think what started is, of course, social drinking in college. And after that, sort of just snowballed into just a dependency. It really gave me bad anxiety. And so I kind of leaned on it to then, you know, cure that anxiety. And of course, that's not the way to do it. So it kind of was a little bit of a snowball effect. And I just realized in 2019, I can't keep moving forward like this. It's just not serving me in any way. I'm having more bad experiences than good. And it just, as much as it was a very fun part of my 20s, I had to remove it in order to just keep my life together and keep my health together. It just was like, it was not serving me at all. So it was clear to me that I had to make some changes. So I did. And, at first it was really great. I was so present in my body. I felt so safe. My relationships were all good. I was very just free from this dependence and kind of being shackled to something. And that lasted for a couple of years, but then I did notice like some just unwanted symptoms like creep in. And at first they just sort of started out as like the classic common but not normal symptoms like acne and bloat and just like fatigue and things that like I think us especially as women we sort of brush off or we just take something for it. So that, it wasn't super alarming at first, but a part of me was like, why am I feeling the way that I like kind of used to feel if I'm like the healthiest or what I thought was the healthiest I've ever been? And I just that again also started snowballing, even though I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna go back into the old mindset of numbing or masking any symptoms. So I went the holistic route and I started supplements and I really and nothing was working and it was just getting worse and worse. And I ended up years deep in, I ended up getting, really bad mast cell flares, which for me was like anxiety and nausea. And I was just like, this feels so unfair. Like I have already made peace with the fact that I cannot be a drinker any longer, and that's okay. But now I like can't eat gluten and like I can't have chocolate and like all these things. And it went far beyond food too. I wasn't sleeping well and just like all these like sobriety promises you this, glowy, glamorous, like clear-headed feeling. And I was just like, what is wrong? I genuinely thought that my body was just like broken. And but I spiraled at the beginning and then I got myself together and realized, okay, there's just more work to be done. There's more healing to be done. Even pre-drinking, like just growing up, we expose ourselves to a lot of different kinds of, um, toxins and just like modern living and, disconnecting from ourselves. And it was just decades of buildup. And my body was just like, hey, like we kind of need to put the pieces back together. So that's when I got into this work, and it absolutely changed me for the better. I love it. I'm so, along the way, I found a passionate vision to help other women go through this too, because again, I felt like I was the only alcohol-free woman who was experiencing symptoms like this. And I was like, everyone's talking about like no more hangovers. And I'm like, I feel sick all the time. What is this? So I want to be there for those alcohol-free women who are trying to pick up the pieces and trying to make sense of their physical symptoms as well as the emotional side of things. There was a lot that was heavy emotionally, and I think because my life felt so, put together and everything was good, and I wasn't drinking anymore, and my relationship was really strong. I got married, like all these amazing things. I think I sort of just like shoved all the emotional distress to the side. And I mean, your body keeps the score, it gets stored in your tissues. I always like to say your issues are stored in your tissues. So, yeah, it was my body's way of saying we got to address this too. Like there's more work to be done physically, emotionally, energetically. And yeah, that's my story.
Oh my gosh. Well, what I love about this is so many people get to this point where like something does get better and you think like, okay, check, I've done it. And one of my episodes that I did on the show about my fertility journey was that it's shown me that there's such deeper levels of health. Like there's so many people out there walking around, myself included, that like think we tick the healthy box because we're not doing this or that, or we're eating vegetables or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, so you start to like kind of unravel this and you start to see like there's so much deeper levels of health and healing. And so I think a lot of us are walking around with like these unexplained symptoms basically. And I know that a lot of it is like, oh, you're just getting older or like, it's just brushed off,
Mhm.
especially by the conventional medical system. So you're
Yeah.
sitting here with quite acute unexplained symptoms, right? Like you said, you're nauseous, you're not sleeping, your skin's flaring up, like all this kind of stuff. And I think again, like there's so many people listening to this episode that are like, yeah, me too right now. How
Yeah.
did you know what to do? Because I think that's where like we don't really have this roadmap to follow. It's so
Yeah.
hard to know like, is this from that? Is this from this? It's like your doctor doesn't care. It's like no big deal. They're like, that just happens. You know what I mean?
I
So like,
know. Oh my gosh.
how
Yeah.
did you actually know what to do to go on this like next deeper level of your healing journey?
Yeah. So yeah, that really is so true for me. I was getting just like turned down by doctors and saying this it's common, don't worry about it. And there's such a level of frustration behind that because these all of these things cannot just be an accident. I knew that they were connected somehow, right? So it was like the acne was definitely connected to the gut issues, which was connected to sleep issues. So there was just no way of like healing these things in isolation. And I think that's what when I realized kind of what to do. Of course, I had practitioners and healers and guides lead me along the way, but I really had to become like the detective of my own body and kind of grab from everybody I worked with. But essentially, there was just a common theme of just like, I'm overcomplicating it. Like, right? Like, I don't need to just like take all these isolated supplements to try and, you know, if I'm low on GABA, I don't need to supplement with GABA. I need to get to the root of that, right? Same with like deficiencies. And the biggest thing I would say was like the toxicity issue. I was so fortunate to meet a practitioner who was really like, she flat out said, she was like, your liver's not working properly, and neither is your gallbladder, and your gut is just like stagnant. So it just really opened my eyes to like, okay, even though my liver blood work was a quote beautiful, I was told by a practitioner that my numbers were beautiful. It's just not, it wasn't the case. Like she had seen this in so many of her clients before. And it's just when I really realized I'm overcomplicating it in the sense that really the big picture is nourishing properly and, going beyond just the vegetable thing, which we've all thought that like, okay, we're super healthy now, nourishing at a cellular level and draining the body of years and years of excess toxins and pathogens, and just like supporting the liver was a huge thing for me. Absolutely. And which of course makes sense after years and years of heavy drinking. I mean, it only makes sense that the liver is like still trying to catch up. So that's when I sort of realized it's this bigger picture of everything's connected. And how can we just establish safety in the body and support the body so that everything can start running smoothly again instead of targeting all these things in isolation and overcomplicating it? Your body knows what to do, right? Like she's very intelligent, but like we've got to remove this physical and emotional stagnation to let things flow again. And that's when I just realized like this gut healing and especially liver healing work was just it made such a difference for me in all of my symptoms. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you explain it. It's so beautifully like simple as you share. And so you obviously started some kind of protocol, some kind of method that you started. And are you willing to share like some of the things that you did? You don't have to share
Yeah.
all of it, obviously. I know that that's
Yeah.
the work you do with your clients, but like
Yeah,
some
absolutely. Yes, I
ideas.
do walk my clients through all of this. But basically, yeah, so like I said, it's we're returning our body to a state of flow. So that means definitely some foundational pieces that we kind of just like forget about, like blood sugar is a huge one, circadian rhythm, proper hydration that goes beyond just drinking, flat, dead water. And then opening the drainage pathways so that when we do embark on detoxing, our body is ready for it. So again, getting our body back into that state of flow through the lymph, the liver, gallbladder, lymph, everything. Just kind of like it's very simple foundational things actually. And then the cleansing work is just so powerful. I did a lot of work on my liver, parasite cleansing, ridding the body of like candida and pathogens and just all these things that like you don't even really think about. They're there, they're hiding. And yeah, that was really, it's really powerful work. And that's what I lead my clients through now. And I just, yeah, it really was just like such a game changer for me to really notice relief and not just being on this like hamster wheel of symptom management and like, okay, I'll take this supplement for this and this and this. It's like, no, we gotta just like reset and just get things moving. And you'll just notice after months and months, like, wow, I don't get those flares anymore. Oh my gosh, my skin is so much better. I'm sleeping through the night. So, yeah, it's kind of a process of like foundational work, opening drainage pathways, detoxing. And then, of course, along the way, we must address the emotional pieces that come up because they will. And that's what's so beautiful about this work is physically recalibrating your body. It essentially like resets your nervous system, right? So if you're physically detoxing, your nervous system is going to recalibrate as well. And so that's when a lot of emotions come up and it's you have to be prepared to process them and move through it with someone. That was so nice to have people healing alongside me and helping me. Um, because yeah, some old stuff comes up. I mean, especially for us alcohol-free girls who some journeys are a little bit more challenging than others, and there's a lot that like was kind of just like dismissed or suppressed. So it comes up along the way, but it's a really beautiful thing. So yeah, I just love it.
Yeah. Oh my, okay. I have so many questions from this now. There's like so many different parts that you said that I want to ask about. So, first thing you said was like dead water. And just to like pretending
Yes.
that, someone has no idea what you're talking about,
Oh
like
yeah.
what would be the difference between dead versus alive water?
Yeah. So I would say I mean, at this point, I hope we're all filtering our water in some way and not drinking tap water. But I mean, if you're filtering your tap water, right? Some of them are so powerful that they strip out beneficial nutrients and minerals. So adding water back in is crucial for proper hydration. I do it to my water every day. I filter it and then I also structure it as well, which is kind of like, it sounds so crazy, the process, but once you realize it's so beautifully hydrating, you just do it. Um, and you structure your water so you get it moving. There's a few different kinds of tools you can use, and then adding minerals back into it. And it's just so much more hydrating than just drinking flat water, dead water throughout the day. Um, because that essentially, if you're doing that, you're essentially just flushing out all the minerals that you already have in your body. If you're just chugging plain dead water all day, it's very important to remineralize it because we don't, in the modern world, we don't have access to like the most fresh spring water anymore. I mean, we have, toxins and other things in our tap water that we need to filter, but then we have to add those minerals back in. So that was something that's really helped because hydration is, of course, everything.
Yeah. And you talk about like the foundation and then like preparing your drainage pathways, like mostly probably the liver and like some of, probably the gallbladder. I forget,
Yeah.
you probably know better. And
Yeah.
I did something similar too, like earlier this year, where it was like actually a lot more foundation work before you even went into like the detox stage, so
Mhm.
that you're not like the way that my practitioner described it was that like it's like a bathtub where like the gunk's just gonna stay in the bathtub. Like you have
Yeah.
to open the drain first before you start
Yeah.
detoxing. So there's like different ways to do that. Like you said, the more foundational work, but then like once you're in the detox, is this like something that you do as like an elimination diet, or are there other also things that you're doing to then for detox your body?
Yeah, so I would say, I tried all those, the elimination diet and then the probiotics on top of that. I feel like that's like kind of the standard, like first thing you do when you're trying to heal your gut. But for me, that was just kind of like throwing a bucket of water at a burning building. You know what I mean? Like you really have to like actually get in there and release. So I would take a lot of like herbs for this and liver support, like castor oil packs are really amazing. Again, the emotional release was a huge one. And I've released a lot of like stones and flukes and things from my liver that were just like kind of clogging it up. I'm sorry if that's like a little graphic, but it's true. Like that you realize like wow, like your liver is really stagnant. And so there's definitely like a deeper process that I like go like month to month with my clients, but I think essentially just not sort of like I said targeting the symptoms in isolation. It's more just about taking these like supportive herbs, castor oil packs, um, and a lot of actually returning back to just food and things like beet juice. Like that is so so supportive for the liver. Like all these things that we kind of just like forget, like we can return to like very very nourishing specific foods and not just like, oh, what vitamin should I go buy at the store to like to help with this. It's like there's real things we can use to support it. um and also, the emotional piece was so huge with the liver. And I know it sounds like a bit woo, but I think we're all here for the woo things. And that's just like when you go through this process, like really taking time to like tune in with your liver, like journaling about it, tapping it. Like there's a bunch of other methods, but like things like that to really like, and you'll cry, like you will cry, you'll get angry, you'll get irritable because like that is just something like the liver is the seat of, emotion. So in order to really get things flowing again, you have to address what you once just tried to ignore, whether it was during your drinking days or after that or just any time in between. It's just there's a lot to process emotionally too.
Yeah. And do you
Yeah.
think like as you're going through this physically, like the emotions are just kind of coming up more naturally, or is there like more intentionality that you needed to have to like be like, okay, I need to remember this or think about this or
Yeah.
come bring this back up or something like that?
I would say it's definitely both. Like there would be things that would come to me during this process, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that, whether I'm journaling about it, meditating on it. But then also I do some somatic work with my clients too. Like I have this like shaking technique that's essentially like to like kind of like shake out like just stored trauma like in your hips and your thighs. That's a really beautiful way to process emotions again, because like we're physically moving the energy out, right? And then yeah, I would say during meditation as well is a huge time to literally check in with your body, with your any organ, and just say, what do I need to know now? Again, I know it sounds a little woo, but it really, once you're like in it, you really do like things come to you. That's another beautiful thing about this work. It really like has you in tune with your intuition so much more than ever before. And you're literally in communication with your body for probably the first time ever. And so that's what is so beautiful about it, because you do get messages from your body. You can speak to your body, give it support, ask it what it needs. Yeah. So that's just, it's both.
Yeah, yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that. Okay, you mentioned earlier parasites. We have on one end of the spectrum people who think that that's like a totally made up thing.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
I
what are you guys
know.
talking
I've
about?
seen it all.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, people are like, nope, you've got like worms the size of rulers inside of you. So, like,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about parasites. How do we get them in the first place? How do we
Yeah.
know we might have them? And what would like a parasite cleanse look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from a physical perspective, and energetic perspective, parasites will parasites are the cleanup crew, right? So they're inherently not bad. But when we have overgrowths, that's when they're a problem because the more toxins we have in our bodies from a physical perspective, they will grow, they'll lay eggs, they'll grow, and they'll get bigger and multiply to clean up the toxins for you. Again, they're intelligent, our bodies are intelligent, but if we are just so overburdened with toxins from life, from whatever it may be, for many years, they're going to accumulate. And I think from an energetic perspective, again, it might be woo, but I think this is very real. As if you are kind of like dissociated, they are going to make a home out of your body. Kind of goes back to your bathtub analogy from earlier. I like to think of it as like a swamp, right? Like if you leave a house, an abandoned house unattended, what's going to happen? It's going to collect like filth. It's going to collect bugs and it's going to flood and it's just going to create this swampy just like soup. You know what I mean? And because no one's home. So for me, I was dissociated for many years with my alcohol dependence, avoiding my feelings, just not being present in my body. Speak of intuition, was not practicing that at all at the time. And so I think from an energetic perspective, my body was the perfect host to these parasites because physically I was not taking care of myself at all. I was overloading my body with toxins, not properly eliminating them. And then energetically, I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I wasn't, and again, it sounds, a little bit, but I absolutely think that that is the truth. And of course, like I said, some people are like, no, and like you said, some people are like, no, that's ridiculous. I mean, we've all got them to an extent, but the amount matters. I think if, people are like, why do you don't need to do that? Like it's fine, they're just the cleanup crew. If you have them in excess amount, you do. And it's also just even more than parasites. I mean, it's mucoid plaque, pathogens, candida, it's all these other things that again are part of our microbiome, but in overgrowth capacity, it's too much. And that's when physical symptoms show up. And I am proof that once you eliminate a lot of that, majority of it, you will feel better, you'll look better, brighter, sleep better. Like it's it's definitely real, but I understand why people might have their doubts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't wait to like unpack this even more. I was once with a practitioner too who almost believed that like women who, as you get older, it might be harder to get pregnant and stuff like that. And like her theory wasn't that, the eggs are dying and you're getting older and all this kind of stuff. Is like you've been exposed to more toxins the older you are, is
Yeah,
basically it. So like
makes
this
sense. Yeah.
this is really important. And like just for like another baseline, like 101, like obviously we know alcohol is a toxin and we remove
Yeah.
that. So we're good. Check on that. But like, can you give us other examples of like seemingly innocuous things that are just present in our everyday lives that are very toxic for us and are harming our bodies for all this buildup?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the biggest ones that come to mind would be cleaning products in our home and products we use on our body. Um, and especially as women, I mean, we grew up with like Bath and Body Works, glitter spray and self-tan and makeup and just like all of these, harmful chemicals that at the time we just didn't think it was a big deal because again, it's so common, it doesn't matter. But in excess over time, if you literally grow up on all of that, and same thing with like the harsh cleaning products and environmental toxins, and just again, our bodies are built to detox, right? Like they're very intelligent, and we have all these organs for a reason. They're here to help. But when we're just like overloading our systems with too much of it and not like draining properly, it's just a snowball effect. So yeah, I would say the biggest would be you want to just start at a foundational level, just switch out your cleaning products and your body products to just a cleaner brand that aren't quite so loaded with toxins. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course there's, preservatives and all those foods that we grew up on too, and just like, convenient foods that weren't actually really nourishing to our body.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Yeah. It's fascinating when you start like diving into this world and you're like, oh great, like my couch and
I
my
know. That's when I think it can definitely be taken too far. And I do want
yeah.
to say this is not to fearmonger. I am so against fearmongering. I think fear can be worse than the toxins themselves. So I do want to mention that. Yes, the world is, everything could be toxic if you look at it. You know, you see those like videos online that's like someone giving advice like try this, and then you hear someone else saying nope, that's going to kill you. And like it's just like we are bombarded with so much information. And yes, there's toxins in the world again, which is why our bodies are built to detoxify, right? Every single day. So no fear mongering, but just being more aware of like, is this necessary? Can I swap this out for a cleaner product? Can I lighten the load so that my body can just do what it's designed to do and regenerate and heal without being bombarded by just thousands and thousands of chemicals a day, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier like the other things that overgrowth, like a Candida overgrowth, for example, in the gut. Is that something that you know, like what symptoms are often present when that's happening? And is that the same kind of protocol that you would go through before that you described or something like that? Like, I want to give this episode a way for people that have unexplained symptoms to be like, oh, it could be this, or like kind of finally getting some answers about, some of
Yeah,
the stuff that we just like don't know what's under the cover, basically,
I
of our
know.
gut and our insides and stuff.
Yeah. And I will say Candida is very popular. I've seen it in my clients, I've seen it in myself, I've seen it in other women that I've healed alongside of and heard stories like we all dealt with the overgrowth. I think everybody has symptoms that present differently, so it's kind of a little bit challenging to answer exactly, but as far as like Candida and overgrowth, I would say skin issues are definitely a big one. And that's definitely what cleared for me after I removed that. I would say skin issues and sleep issues, um, like rashes, hives, things like that. But even just the classic, like bloating, inflammation. Like I know we've all kind of like normalized, oh, bloating, it's normal. And of course, body positivity, of course, is it's amazing. But at the same time, like if you're just feeling like really inflamed and like you can't eat a meal without bloating so much, that's a definite sign that you have pathogens and overgrowths and just an inability to digest properly, essentially. So yeah, those things can't really be ignored. Again, they don't always show up in blood work. Candida did for me, but it doesn't always show up. So yeah, I would definitely say just like the classic, like bloating, inability to digest food properly, skin issues, sleep issues. Um, and even like anxiety is a big one with all this. My anxiety's definitely gone down after detoxing. Um, so yeah, again, a lot of these symptoms are common but not normal. So, we can't let people just say, "Oh, just everyone deals with that. It's no big deal." Because like I always say, it's just your body trying to let you know that something needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Do you think these things, like, I think in a way, I don't know how to describe this, but it's like, as a generation today, I think we're becoming more aware and more conscious to the smaller things happening in our health before they're snowballing into like the horrible things, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, 100 years ago you were bloated, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you didn't
Yeah.
have any care for that or something like that.
Right.
So are you like it's almost as if like we're taking like the last ditch kind of diseases, whether it's like dementia, heart disease, cancers, like diabetes and stuff. And it's almost as if like root cause medicine is trying to go back, like, okay, but what does that present like 20 years before that? What does that present like
Yeah.
30 years before that? What does that present like 50 years before that? So we can
Yeah.
stop, like, we can kind of catch these things before they go downstream into these like really bad kind of things. Is that kind of your thinking that like some of this stuff, like if you catch it now, if you're able to do these cleanses, if you're able to like get the stagnation out of your liver, the blood sugar regulation, like all this stuff, like do you see that as like the root cause of healing those like more downstream like chronic diseases as they show up in our population? Or like what do you think personally?
Yeah.
And I know it's like
I
a big
personally,
question,
no,
but
it's okay. I don't, of course, have all the answers, but I believe yes. Absolutely. I do think the way that we treat our body at age 30 absolutely affects us in 30 years and what presents later on. Absolutely. I do think it's correlated, and I do think that everything that we all do in like the holistic world is preventative. So it's like even if right now you're listening to this and you're like, well, my bloating's not that bad, my acne's not that bad, like I don't totally resonate. All of this is preventative because if you say this now, come 10, 20, 30 years and it's just been accumulating silently, it absolutely could manifest as a bigger, more scary disease. Again, I can't like fully on the record confirm that to be true, but from the healers that I have learned from, who I know and trust, absolutely that is a conversation that we have about taking preventative action now to help us in the long run. And I absolutely think it makes so much sense.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
something like I've like definitely come to terms with too, because like on my fertility journey, there's just so many different cultures like embedded into it, right? Like so there's like a TTC community and it's like
Yeah.
sad and horrible and like, oh, poor you
Mm.
can't get pregnant and stuff. And I'm like, as a coach, I'm always trying to reframe and trying to see things in a different light. And it's like, why wouldn't the universe want me to get healthier? Like, why, even if it's, harder for me or harder for me and my
Yeah.
husband to like do this journey, like it's also opened the door to so many different healing protocols and practices. And we've changed our water, to
Yeah.
so many different things that wouldn't have happened probably as a result because we
Yeah.
felt pretty healthy before. I mean, he has a little bit more health issues than me, but like I've always felt healthy.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of things now coming up where it's like people are saying, like, look, this is like, I look healthy. Like maybe someone has like a six pack or, maybe they're
Yeah.
thin or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But like underneath all of that, like they're
Absolutely.
not metabolically healthy, they're not cellularly healthy and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of like one, it's definitely like kind of shaking the foundation of what we all thought was healthy, which I think we all thought healthy was just like fit or thin, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For
Totally.
so
It's what
long.
was ingrained years ago, decades ago.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That aesthetically, if you're good, if you feel fit aesthetically, that okay, you're set. But like,
Yeah.
no, no, definitely not.
Yeah. And
And
so I
yeah,
know
I love
I'm
that you said
thankful for
that
that.
because I'm the same exact way with my journey. Like I said at the beginning, I was kind of like, this is so unfair. Like, why do I feel sick? I quit drinking. Like, wasn't that enough? What is going on? I can't eat anything. I can't sleep well. Like, what is happening? And now I'm like, I'm so lucky. Like I've found a way to kind of spin everything into just like a gratitude moment because I think when you've been on this kind of healing journey for long enough, that's just it happens naturally. But I really do feel blessed to have gone through these hardships. And that goes for alcohol too. Like I'm grateful at the end of the day that like my drinking habits were so horrible that I had to give it up. Because I mean, we all know that like alcohol is it's not healthy. Like of course that's not the fun thing to say, but the fact that I am so sensitive, my body is so sensitive, I now see it as a good thing because it's just my body is just like so in tune and being like, nope, rejecting this, can't do this, and we have to get this back on track. And I really do see it as a good thing. And that's also something that I work on with my clients too, is kind of like adjusting that mindset of like, oh, this is happening to me instead say this is happening for me, you know? So there's a lesson in everything. And yeah, it makes you think about the way I'm going to raise my kids too, like to just have better ingredients in the house and have them be connected to nature and all these things that I was just so disconnected from before starting this journey. So it is a blessing.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of a perfect place to end. So I love that message you just shared.
Thank
People
you.
are interested. They have, unexplained symptoms. They want to heal. They're ready for that next level of like going deeper into their health and stuff like that. Where can people learn more about you, hire you, learn more about your resources, all that good
Yeah,
stuff?
absolutely. So the best way to find me is my Instagram page, which is Kate Yoder Wellness. And I have currently running a one-on-one program. It's called Healing Beyond Alcohol. And it's set for 4 months, although absolutely we can continue on a month-to-month basis at the end of the 4 months because sometimes healing takes a lot longer and it's better to just listen to your body and trust the timeline it wants to move at. But it's essentially everything we just went over today. It's starting with the foundational pieces, opening drainage pathways, embarking on cleansing, and all the way through, we're really addressing all the emotional layers that come with healing. Um, whether it's about, your drinking days, your pre-drinking days, now sobriety. I mean, sobriety can be heavy for some, especially in the beginning. So it's definitely just like that's why I wanted to make it a one-on-one container where we can really just like go deep and talk about it and unravel all these layers one by one together. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, we'll have that all in the show links below. Thank you so much, Kate, for being on this episode.
Thank you,
I was like
Carolina.
scribbling notes because I'm like learning so much from you.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
such
so
a wealth
glad.
of wisdom. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate it. It was so good to see you. I appreciate it.
Yay.